Now some questions from Shinobiflare. Question number 1. Have you ever visited TV Troops? No. Question number 2. What is your favorite video game series? I know you're expecting me to say Kingdom Hearts, but my favorite video game franchise has to be The Legend of Zelda. The first game I played was Ocarina of Time, which everybody and their grandmother agrees is a masterpiece among video games. And it seems to me that with every new game, or at least every new game on the main consoles, the franchise keeps getting better and better. The last game, Twilight Princess, has to be one of them, and I'm really looking forward to the next one that's been announced, Skyward Sword. Question number 3, can you roll your tongue? Question 4, what is love?
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more.
Question number 5, are you a fan of the Pokemon games? And if so, are you looking forward to Pokemon Black and White? I wouldn't call myself a hardcore fan, but I have been playing the game since they first came out. The first one I played was Pokemon Red. I continued with Pokemon Gold, Pokemon Ruby, Pokemon Diamond, and I've also played Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, Hey You Pikachu, and Pokemon Puzzle League. My all-time favorite has to be Pokemon Gold, and I've been meaning to get Heart Gold. Like I said, I wouldn't call myself a hardcore fan. I may have been one when the games first came out, but as time progressed, I slowly lost interest. Don't get me wrong, I've managed to play each new generation that's come out, but at this point, I'm just surprised the series is still going on. Which brings me to this next generation coming out, Pokemon Black and White. Let me guess, is the third game going to be great? Some questions from Wave3436. Question number 1, and what inspired you to join YouTube? That would be the Holy Trinity. Big Out 2K6, RLC920, and Darkness the Curse. 3 of the greatest ranters YouTube has ever known. Of course, I think Big Al and the gang serves as inspiration for the vast majority of ranters on YouTube. That's just my opinion, though. Question number 2, what is the worst video you've seen? That would be the response I received from Mr. Fred645, in which he calls me a bully. I mean, I know he's obviously a troll, but he's such a failure at it. Question number 3, any favorite consoles? Anything that's Nintendo. My first console was a Super Nintendo, then an N64, then a GameCube, and now I have a Wii. And I've also owned many of the handheld consoles, the first one being a Game Boy Color, then a Game Boy Advance, then a Game Boy Advance SP, and finally a Nintendo DS. So yeah, if you can't tell, I'm a Nintendo fanboy. What can I say? All the good franchises are on Nintendo. Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Pokemon, and Smash Brothers. Question number 4, I noticed you like Confused Matthew's reviews, but what is the worst review you've seen from him? To be perfectly honest, I've never seen a bad review from Confused Matthew, and this is coming from a guy who is a big fan of The Lion King, a movie that Confused Matthew criticized as being bad. If I can handle someone saying that a favorite movie of mine sucks balls, I can handle anything. I will be honest though, there have been reviews that disappointed me. Mostly they're reviews which feel rushed around the third part because Matthew spent the other 2 parts ranting about the first few seconds of the movie, and now he has to rush to wrap it all up in part 3. The 2 instances this has to be is War of the Worlds and his most recent one, The Knowing. The third part of the reviews just felt rushed. Usually he does end on a strong note, and often he will create a part 4 in order to do so, but other times it just feels as if he has to put part 3 together at the last minute. And finally, question number 5, Roxas or Sora? Take a wild guess. Now some questions from Star Wars Fan Forever 5. Question number 1, what are your thoughts on the Star Wars prequels? Honestly, I don't think they're as bad as Star Wars fanboys make them out to be. When I saw them in the theaters, I thought they were awesome. Granted, they may not be as good as the originals, but they were great nonetheless. I have seen reviews by both Confused Matthew and Distressed Watcher, and I admit now that the films have many flaws in them. But you have to admit, at least they're not as bad as some of Lucas's other crapfests. Howard the Duck, the Star Wars Holiday Special, and Star Wars The Clone Wars. Boy. Question number 2, what video of mine do you like the most? I would have to choose between your YouTube poop Peter dies while watching Fanboy and Chum Chum, and Lol's Darth Vader and Luke's reaction to the Fred movie. The reason I didn't pick any of your rants is that, well, I'm not very fond of Spigonia. Sorry. Question number 3, what 7th generation consoles do you own? The only next-gen console I own is a Wii, and to be honest, I just don't play it that much. The only game I play on a regular basis is the Wii Fit, and that's for obvious reasons. I don't know, for some reason I just outgrew video games. Last Christmas I got Mario Kart Wii and Super Mario Galaxy. I played both for a day, that was about it, and never picked up either ever since. Question number 4. Favorite Kingdom Hearts game? As I said before, both games have their pros and cons. Kingdom Hearts had an excellent storyline and colorful graphics. Kingdom Hearts 2 had excellent gameplay. If I had to pick, it would be Kingdom Hearts 2. And finally, question number 5. Do you own any Super Smash Bros. Games? When I had a GameCube, I owned Super Smash Bros. Melee, and now that I have a Wii, I own Brawl. But like I said, I just don't play video games that much anymore. Though if anyone wants to play with me online, I'd be willing to do so. Send me yours through a PM and we'll set up a time. Now some questions from EmTheSmasher. Question number 1. What sect of Christianity are you? I don't really identify myself with any denomination because if you really think about it, denominations don't really matter. I consider myself a Christian and nothing more. Denominations just divide other Christians needlessly. The church I'm attending is an Assembly of God, which, if anyone knows, is a Pentecostal church, which means there's a lot of people speaking in gibberish, tongues, and acting wild and crazy. It really doesn't bother me because, well, I was raised on this stuff. I'm used to it. So, I'd prefer a more quiet, somber Baptist church, but that's just me. Question number 2. What audio program do you use to alter your voice? Audacity. Question number 3. What's your favorite food? Pizza. Specifically meat lovers. Pepperoni, sausage, Canadian bacon. Of course, I also like the macaroni and cheese pizza they have at CC's. Weird, yet delicious. Question number 4. Have you ever played in a school band or sung in a school choir? No, I have not. And finally, question number 5. Who's your favorite Nintendo character? Luigi. I know most people prefer Mario, but that only makes me like Luigi even more. The fact that he's second fiddle to Mario probably makes him that more enjoyable. Seriously, I think he deserves a game of his own, and nothing like that crap fest that was Luigi's Mansion. Now some questions from Metal God Aragonona 1986. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but question number 1, what do you think about Alex Jones? Never heard of the guy, so I can't comment. Question number 2, do you like any metal bands? I'm not really into any metal bands, and the only metal song I like, if you can't already tell by the intro to my videos, is Linkin Park's Breaking the Habit. Question number 3, since you're a conservative and hate big government, are you going to vote Ron Paul if he gets the nomination? With everything else waking up, I believe it's his time to shine. I don't know much about Ron Paul, but for what little I do know about him, he definitely sounds like a true conservative. Not some phony neocon like George Bush or Sarah Palin. He also seems to be against corporations, so that should satisfy some of the liberals out there. If anyone should run for 2012, it most definitely should be Ron Paul. If it's anyone like Sarah Palin, or worse, Sarah Palin herself, it'd be the final nail in the coffin for the Republican Party. Question number 4. Thoughts about DreamWorks Animation Studio? I think it makes good competition for Disney. If you think about it, DreamWorks is like what Universal Studios was back in the 1980s. You know, back when Disney was releasing crap fests. Then Don Bluth came along and released film after film kicking Disney's ass and forcing it to create better films, thus igniting the animation renaissance of the 1990s. And just as Disney became better and better, John Bluth's movies became worse and worse, but soon Disney began to suck. Then DreamWorks came along and created film after film kicking Disney in the ass and forcing it to create better films. And now that DreamWorks is beginning to suck, Disney is finally beginning to create some really spectacular films. And I believe we're on the brink of another animation renaissance. My point is this, unless there's really good competition, Disney holds a monopoly on the animation industry, and thus has no incentive to create good films. And only when there's competition does Disney begin to have the incentive. The animation industry. Proof that free market capitalism works. And finally, question number 5. What do you think about the environmentalist that demands 5 billion people to be killed, like, now? I would be offended by something like that, but it seems to me that most environmentalists like that are nothing more than talk. Because if they really believed what they said, if they really thought that the human race was that much of a threat, then they would do something about it. If you honestly think that the human race was that much of a threat, then you're going to do something about it. You would go to the nearest mall, you know, the epitome of all consumerism and thus evil to the environment, and go on a killing spree with an AK-47. But no, instead they just sit on their asses and blog about how Mother Earth is being destroyed. Now some questions from Mikuru90210. Question number 1. If you had the chance to take over a certain channel and make some changes to it, which channel would you choose and what would you change? I don't really know of any channels that I would change per se. If I don't like a channel, I just don't watch or subscribe to it. And most of the channels I subscribe to are good enough anyway. If I could change one channel, it would have to be Darkstream217's. And really the only thing I would change is his content. I really loved his commentaries as they were truly constructive in their criticism, and he made a lot of excellent points. And as I said before, it's a shame that all of his commentaries were deleted and he no longer makes any. Question number 2, would you want to change your icon? If so, why? Like I said before, I'm completely comfortable with using Roxas as my avatar, and I'm not going to be changing him for quite some time. Question number 3, which anime song do you like? The two I'm addicted to right now are Again by Yui, the first opening to Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and Hokibashi by Yuna, the third ending to Bleach. I especially like the last one because of its overall otherwise addicting melody and beat. Question number 4, which of your subscribers has the potential to be a ranter? I would have to say The Stranger, otherwise known as my Grumpus, only because his topics are original and his thinking is usually outside the box. As he once said, he wants to put an end to discussions which amount to nothing more than reciting slogans and bumper stickers. I think he really has that potential. The problem I have, though, is that his camera and audio quality isn't really the best, and his overall presentation seems somewhat bland. It makes How the World Works videos as spectacular as Avatar. If he gets a better camera, primarily one that doesn't focus in and out at random, and he adds more energy to his presentation, I would say he has great potential. And finally, question number 5, are there any upcoming projects besides one-shot commentaries in your revised Annoying YouTubers list? As I told The Stranger, I want to revise my Exterminate the Extremist series, seeing as I haven't created a rant for that in a long time. If I do, I want to focus on religious extremists like the Islamic Jihadist, Religious Right, and New Atheist.